Hey guys, welcome back to JD Unplugged. I'm your host, the Darren G.
And I am the co-host, the Jovan. And as we can see, we got more guests on this podcast. So I'll let you guys introduce yourselves however you want. You can have, a secret identity, or you can just say who you are. It's up to you.
Hi. My name is Karen, and this is Megan.
Hi.
Roommates living downtown Toronto.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm Megan.
Hi.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, so a long-standing tradition on this podcast, because I think this is like we're 10 episodes in now. It's definitely a tradition at this point. We talk about our locations and where we're at. So you guys started by saying that you are in the heart of Toronto. And Darren, actually, I'm curious, where are you located right now?
I'm at Dave & Buster's.
Nice. And I guess it's empty because we're in lockdown. So
Yeah.
would you break in, or are you the manager? Are you just hanging out?
I'm just hanging out. They are closed for lockdown, but they needed some social media stuff, so I just came in, see what's good, check the lighting up in here. They need to work on the lighting, but it is what it is. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, nice. I feel like the black lighting aesthetic might it'll be a new thing where it just shows where people sneezed to try to stay away from touching stuff. Yeah, it's the future. Yeah. Okay, so now last I talked to you, Darren, I had finally escaped a pickle that I was in. For a couple episodes, I had been kidnapped and I was bedbound and had my legs broken, but I was able to escape using the monkey logic of grabbing a stick and just whacking someone over the head. So I escaped. I ended up in a convenience store where people were not speaking English, and I saw characters instead of letters, so I assumed I was in the East. And what I've now come to realize, as you can see behind me, is that COVID is no longer a thing where I am, and old tech is new tech. So I just had to assume that I've now time traveled. That might not be the case. This might be this weird flash mob, and they're like, "Ha, gotcha, you're infected." But I'm pretty sure that I am in the year 2001. Bum bum.
I can't believe that's 20 years ago, first of all.
Yeah, exactly. People think the 80s was 20 years ago.
Possible?
Nah, bro.
Yeah, that's wild.
Literally, the year 2000 was 20 years ago. It's crazy.
It's crazy. And too, I remember back in the day when I was working with this one gentleman. He was born in 2000, and he was he was 18. I was like,
yeah. I have a cousin who was born January 2nd, 2000. So her age is the easiest to remember because it's like whatever year it is your age. So it's 2021. I go, okay, you're 21. Yeah.
Oh yeah, true.
They're all adults now. It's wild. Gen Z, man.
It must be past that point now.
It's crazy.
Well, maybe not for people in the year 2000, but think about 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds that are speaking kids who are just alive and running around and stuff. They were born in the year 2015, and they're just active children now running around. That's so insane to think about. It's like you're the unnamed generation. We don't even know what that generation's called now, but they exist.
Is it not going to be after Z? Do you start at the beginning of the alphabet again? Are they generation?
Maybe
Generation A for sure.
Yeah, or it's when you look at a numeric alphabet or something, it does A to Z and then starts doing 0 to 9. So maybe Gen 0 and then Gen 1, Gen 2. I don't know.
Or they can just follow the gaming systems that they have, like Xbox.
Oh my God, no! Yeah, naming them like Xbox. Okay, so I don't know if you gals know about the Xbox, but they have some of the worst marketing in the world.
Really?
So there's 3 gaming things, right? There's Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation.
Of course.
Nintendo is its own beast. No, there's no competition because it's insane. They just innovate every time. They don't care about competition. But
Nintendo.
PlayStation and Xbox, they're in direct competition with each other. They're if I get a sale, that means you don't get a sale, right? Because the general public, those are the 2 competing brands. The only thing, though, is the original Xbox, which is funny because it's right behind me because it's coming out right now. Where I am in the past, it came out in 2001. But PlayStation came out back in 1997. So by the time the Xbox came out, the PlayStation 2 came out. So now Xbox is going to make an Xbox 2, but they can't call it an Xbox 2 because by the time it's an Xbox 2, the PlayStation 3 is coming out. So people in their minds are going to say, oh, I don't want the Xbox 2. I want the latest. I want the higher number. I want the PlayStation 3. Yeah. So Xbox is like, how do we get past this hurdle of the fact that we have a second iteration of our gaming system, but our competition is on the third iteration? So even though we're both the latest software, they get to have the number 3 and we only have the number 2. So like, let's call it the Xbox 360. So that way it's a ball, but also has a number 3 in it. And then it became this whole thing where they kept trying to like come up with ways to not actually name their system. So then it became the Xbox One, and then it became the Xbox One X, and then the Xbox Series X, and it's like this nightmare. And now it's so confusing. It's like
there's an Xbox One X. There's an Xbox One X. What's that?
Yeah, there's an Xbox One S, an Xbox One X, an Xbox Series S, and an Xbox Series X.
Oh my god, S. Like iPhones, Jesus.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh,
it's the worst marketing ever because it's so confusing, and it's like, what are you going to call your next system? Like, it's just, you've ruined yourself. You have no future in this game of like not giving it a number. And meanwhile, PlayStation's like, yeah, this is the PS5. Like, yeah, this is our next thing. It's super simple for them. It's the easiest thing.
I'm confused with all the numbers and letters. Like, the alphabet's enough for me. Yeah. Now I have to remember Xbox One, Z.
You know X. What they should have done? So I don't know if we could maybe dig into marketing a little bit here, but they should have named it by letters, because I'm thinking of like Teslas. You know how there's like a Series or a Tesla S, a Tesla T, or whatever the heck, right? Just use that, but call it like an Xbox V, because a V is a Roman numeral for 5, and so the PlayStation 5 comes out, and you just call it an Xbox V or something, right? Is that not a little bit better than an Xbox Series X? No.
That makes sense. Yeah. I feel like Xbox's whole thing, I don't know anything about like their marketing strategy or whatever, but I do know like what I saw advertised as a kid, and I saw PlayStation and Nintendo systems advertised all the time, but I think I cannot remember a single Xbox commercial.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
And like I watched enough like YTV or whatever to like see like,
YTV
for there to be an opportunity for that commercial to show up. Yeah.
Yeah, like Nintendo always had like, you know, Mario or whatever, like game characters, and PlayStation always had that one kid, and they had that like PlayStation at the end of every commercial.
yeah, that's funny. Yeah, he's like the Mazda for PlayStation.
Yeah.
PlayStation. Yeah.
Kind of just
true. They just had better marketing. They had better everything. Xbox always just, to me, seemed like, I don't know why, I just always pictured like Xbox the last of the generations. Like, I don't know why. Yeah. It's like, okay, I don't know. Okay, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like there's a choice, right? Android, Apple. It's one or the other.
Binary.
Right?
Yeah. There's this or that.
People say that like people that have Android just can't afford Apples, but it's just like, no, sometimes it's just a personal like preference. But me, I'm just like, I don't want an Android because it's like, it's cheap. Like, that's just me though. But you can get a good Android that is good. That's just me, right? And then
debate in our household all the time because I'm like very pro Apple. We'll get the next iPhone. Meg's trugging through Android phone after Android phone. She's had some really good ones though.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't really care. I think that's the thing as well.
Right, like, right. The key point is don't be a diehard of anything.
I've got like a MacBook. I've got my Android phone, but I think I like the customization of Android, so it's never been. I don't know. I got a new phone recently, and I was like debating going over to an iPhone, and I don't know. I think it's just a comfort thing as well. It's whatever phone that you started on as well.
Right. Yeah.
But I think with the point around Xbox and PlayStation, though, you've also got to look at the companies that own them. So Microsoft owns Xbox, so they're this like huge business that Xbox is like definitely part of their business, but it's not going to be the biggest part of it.
Their priority, right? Yeah.
Sony really has to sell PlayStations. Like they're not. Obviously they're a huge business, but are they as big as Microsoft? I would argue no.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I think Microsoft has the big money compared to the two of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, so that is really weird. Because Xbox has a weaker marketing, but
they make money in other places where they don't need. That's why I'm saying by like this example of like that's why it seems like it's lowered. Like it would seem like lower on the totem pole. So like if you wanted the best of all those, I would think it would be PlayStation.
Wow,
like Sony, because they're like they don't make the best money everywhere else, so they put more of their into the Microsoft. They're making it everywhere. They make their money from like their computers, from like
that's the biggest deal for them, because it's like they own PCs too. You know how there's PC gamers? It's like Microsoft owns that entire market. Apple PCs aren't being used for gaming, just Microsoft PCs. Yeah, so that's true. It's like they don't need to compete. They're just doing this for fun. They're like just a megalomaniac.
Personal. And like it could go down to like bullying and stuff too, because like you can go down to like, for instance, like it's true. Like so like what would be like a good example? Like clothes, for instance. Like when I was growing up, certain brands, kids would make fun of you wearing these brands, but now these cheaper brands are more expensive. Like Champion, for instance. Champion, when you're younger, Champion is like you're poor, you don't have money.
Yeah, what's your sports brand?
People like go, depending on where you're from, people go with that. So it's like, oh, all my friends have Android, so I have to have an Android. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that sometimes too for people. It's just like, oh, whatever my friend has, I'll have it. Whatever they think is cool, it's cool.
I was literally influenced into getting an iPhone, because I think I started with an LG. That's back in the wild west of cell phones. It's like you had anything. So I had the one where it's like flipped and it had the keyboard. So I had an LG, whatever. I honestly forget the specific title. And then I got a Samsung Galaxy 2. And it was like this big thing. So it was like, oh snap, it's like the sequel to the original Galaxy. It was so cool. And then I had it for like, I think 2 or 3 years, until all my friends were like, you're outside the group. We're having group chats and you're not invited because you need like
something like that happens.
And that's why I was literally like, fuck, all right, fine, I'll get an iPhone. It took a while. I think I didn't get an iPhone until like 2015, but yeah. Finally got one, and now I'm just sticking with it.
It's honestly personal preference.
Because of my friends.
All do the same thing.
Yeah. I'm going to need a new phone soon, because I just started running out of storage space. And I realized recently that my camera is kind of shit. Like compared to how the camera quality is on like new iPhones, and I don't know if I'm gonna stick with an iPhone just because
because the quality is better on other phones.
Like I don't know if I can afford like one of the nice new iPhones,
but they have.
What would you go for?
They do have ones that are like slightly that are the cheaper versions, but still have like really good cameras, because all of the cameras that are in market for current iPhones, Android phones are still going to be so much higher than the camera that you currently have on your phone.
Yeah.
So I think you go with whatever you want.
That's probably
You're so right. You're so right. And the cameras are like some of the cameras are even better on Android phones. Like it's just it comes down to, again, the marketing. Like the way Apple's markets, they market it to be expensive.
Yeah, totally.
This is the thing is, like I know that people are like, oh, Androids are so much cheaper. They're really not. They're like competing with Apple, so a lot of the time that you can definitely get cheaper options, but they're not made as well, I think.
It's just certain. Right? It really comes down to, again, like your preference and like your bank account too. Like if you have the money to just throw away, like I don't have the money to just go buy a freaking new iPhone, and I certainly hells won't. I'm waiting till my iPhone is pitch black until I have to get the next one or whatever. I don't care. Like it's just some people, they need the newest one. They need the next. You know what I mean? It's like For some people.
Wait. So actually, I got a question. So we're talking about how there's only two sides to this thing, the Apple and Android. But is the Google phone? What is that? Is that like an Android, or is it its own thing?
It's Android. So Apple, because
it is Android. Okay.
So Apple has iPhone territory. Mm-hmm. Anything that isn't Apple is basically Android, but then there's different companies that run their phones on Android. So like Samsung, Google phones. Like my last phone was a Google phone, and I loved it. I was devastated that it died. And now I've got a Samsung, and honestly, I wish I'd gotten the Google phone. Mm-hmm. Was that the Pixel?
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, the Pixel. Yeah.
All right.
Well, because I hear stats-wise, the Google Pixel has the best phone cameras out of any of them. It's
camera on that Pixel. Yeah. I made Meg take pictures of me all the time because her camera is better than me.
So good.
Pixel. as well. How come we don't do any photo shoots? Because we're on lockdown. Fair.
Yeah, nice. Wait, okay, so now can we kind of pivot, and I want to ask you guys what you've been up to. So not necessarily like the question of, hey, back in March of last year, yeah, what were you guys doing? But so there's a new state of emergency that had been placed on the province of Ontario.
Correct.
Has anything changed with what you guys have been doing, or have you already been inside this entire time, so this hasn't really changed your life that much?
Also, sorry to interrupt. Did you guys get because last year we did get it. I got a notification on my phone being like, emergency.
Oh, I got that this time.
I was like, damn, okay, this is serious.
Real, like
Doug no one's following the rules.
Yelling at us now, like, stay home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really think that anything has changed. Like, before Christmas, Toronto went into like a stage 3 lockdown situation anyways. So from at the very least, from like the end of November, I feel like we had already started really being cautious and like staying home. We saw like maybe like 1 or 2 people, because we both had like our individual Christmas plans that we didn't want to get ruined by putting anybody else in danger or whatever. So I don't think anything has changed for us with the new state of emergency.
No, nothing changed. Just
so now I guess what I'd be able to ask, what do you do? Like, do you guys work on your computers all day, or what's your schedule like?
We literally work all day, and I say we, I mean Meg, because
you don't.
Last week was actually my last week of work.
Okay, but in a good way or a bad way?
In a bad way, but like in like bad way, like I resigned. I think I told you
vaguely about how the new year brought changes for you.
Yeah, well, I got laid off from the agency. So because like the client that I was working on, they took their business to a different agency, like on a global level. So like all of their global agencies switched from our agency head to another one. And that was like that the business from that client alone, like I was on like a 9-person team, like to solely service that client. And they were worth like a third of the entire agency's like annual revenue.
Oh my gosh. So that was like the biggest hit that could have happened.
The agency, a huge chunk of change leaving their business. And so they did a big round of layoffs before the holidays. And
gosh.
I got cut. But it's not so bad. Well, like I'm thinking that it's not going to be so bad because like qualify for unemployment, and also like it's COVID. I feel like people are a little bit more forgiving about like this fucking shit, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Wow, I'm so sorry to hear that happened.
Yeah, that is awful. Yeah, just understand that it's literally just a client saying, I'm going to switch to someone else because they're cheaper, right? That's why anyone would do that.
I mean, I don't really know. It was a global decision. It was a huge decision because they had been partners with our agency for like 50 years. So it was like a big fucking
my gosh. Yeah.
Partnership they dissolved. But it wasn't like the individual Canadian client's decision. The Canadian client was actually like super pissed about it because they've been working with our team for like however many years. We have a really streamlined way of working with them. Like we've created all these like unique like products and ways of servicing them that like.
Oh my gosh! Look at that guy! Yeah, bring him up. Would your Revit be camera shy or?
He's not camera shy, but like he doesn't do what he's told.
Yeah, right. He's like a cat. He's free spirit.
Yeah, he'll do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah.
Nice. It's quite interesting though, like how so much has changed in such a short time.
Totally.
And like now that it's year 2021, it's almost like we're on a reset of everything. So it's like, okay, we're starting fresh.
Well, everybody says that, but the one thing that's not resetting is the lockdowns, right? COVID has not stopped. It's the ultimate downside of it. Yeah.
It's interesting folks saying that because I feel like because every year it's like, oh yay, it's a reset, it's a new year, but it's really not. It's really not. Like it's just a continuation of what else is going? It's like we saw in January last year with everything that was happening in Australia with the bushfires, and obviously climate change is just getting not to like really get political and
down that side. No, but it's true.
That's still continuing. It's
ramping up.
It just because it's 2021 doesn't mean that that's going to change. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like
it's just a wish thing.
It's just more of like to hope for a little better, I guess. But I mean, you're right. It's not like anything is getting better. It's just a continuation. And like Joe and I were mentioning on the last, actually maybe 2 podcasts ago, where like I don't really do New Year's traditions. I don't really care. Yeah. I don't care about the year changing. I fell asleep before all that.
I still can't believe you do that. Like, you don't want to see fireworks at least.
I don't care about any of that because I'm New Year's resolution every day, maybe. I don't have time
for that. Which is the best way to do it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
you shouldn't like get lazy and then just wait until New Year's to like try to fix yourself.
Sometimes for some people, it's like it helps the situation where it's like, oh, okay, well maybe this, but then things sometimes don't turn around. It's like, damn, this shit is just dragging on from last year, which it is, and it's almost like it's in a sense a little bit worse this time going around. Or would you guys agree or disagree?
We at least have had this time.
Because last year we had our jobs. People had jobs and things like this, and it was like, okay, you're going to be going back to work. Now it's like, no, you're.
Well, so I'd say the only change there, and again, this is artificial, the same as the new year, but it's the mentality of, in 2020, it was the downward. It was the getting sick, the whole globe was getting sick, right? The whole human population. And then now in 2021, we are sick, which sucks. But the fact that we're starting that way means it can only go up from here. So now it's about the process of healing, right? So it's like 2020 was us getting sick, and then 2021 is the hope that we will heal, we will rise up from this bottom.
I mean, we don't know, but I kind of agree with you, Joe. Like, I think people, whether it's, wise to place so much hope and faith in like the year changing, I don't know, but I do think that people are starting the year with like a renewed sense of like some kind of hope that like vaccinations are rolling out, like that's starting. Like I know some healthcare workers who have started getting that, and like it's gonna roll out to the rest of society over the course of this year. And with that, I do think that things will start to return to something that is a closer resemblance to normal than anything we've seen thus far. But like, yeah, the world is still kind of ending.
Right, exactly. There's still climate change and like, civil unrest in America and all that stupid shit. Yeah.
Like,
wait. Actually, there was a stat that I recently learned. Apparently, the crime rate has gone down so significantly that the only time that it had dropped as much as it did now was like back during the Spanish flu 100 years ago. Like it's like a reverse spike of like the crime rate, apparently, because people aren't out as much. So it's like crime is still happening, obviously, but it's mostly domestic, whereas before it would have been, it's like the numbers just way higher when people aren't all at home. I guess. It's weird. It's
Is that like a global stat, or is that like
I think Canada specifically, our crime rate has like significantly dropped because
I guess the Amazon package stealers don't count for that number.
Non-violent crime, I guess, maybe. Who knows? Yeah, because the porch pirates are a real thing.
Porch pirates, yeah.
Yeah, there's a video of a porch pirate. It was like early in the morning. The person drove, so it's not like they like ran up. Because I always thought that they would run up. Yeah, you know this video? Yeah, where guy drives up into the guy's driveway, takes a thing, and then the guy comes out and is like filming. He's like, "Hey, buddy, what do you think you're doing with my package?" And he like reverses into a snowbank. He gets stuck, and then he's just there for 20 minutes. He doesn't get out of his car and run away. He just stays there, and he's constantly like trying to go forward and reverse. And the guy's like, "You want me to get a shovel and help you like escape with and steal my thing?" And then the cop came by the time he was waiting. So funny.
So funny, so sad.
So funny, but so sad. Yeah.
Like robbery attempt ever. Like runs away, can't move his car because of the snow, and then the person that he was trying to rob is like, "Man, buddy, you need do you need a hand?
You need help? Yeah, can I help you?
Let me call CAA quick."
Can I go get more coffee?
Yeah,
of course. So Megan, hey, since we got you here, because what has your schedule been?
My work-life balance is rough for sure.
Okay.
I think
yeah.
That's an interesting thing that has definitely been a product of working from home, is having my workspace in my bedroom and just knowing that there's always going to be work, there's always going to be stuff for me to do. So that's fun.
Yeah. It's
really
a constant learning curve of like, how do I properly balance this?
And a big part of it is like setting boundaries, right? And setting like firm boundaries with myself. And if I'm going to work on a weekend or something like that, when I'm not supposed to technically be working on a weekend.
Right, yeah.
Like, okay, I'm going to do it for this many hours. These are the tasks that I want to get done. And like anything else, I need to take a break, because it's just so equally as important to get that rest and get that break away from screens. I say as I'm looking at the screen.
Yeah, right now,
No, but you're so right. I've been kind of like capping myself. Like yesterday, I felt really bad because I got a message from one of my neighbors saying that my Mandarin order was here.
What? I sent to the wrong place?
Sometimes when I order food, the way my house is, like my door's on the side of a house, so it's really hard for sometimes the delivery person to understand where to, but it's, so they'll knock on like random doors and they'll be like, yeah, it's just on the side. But what the sad thing was is I had turned my phone off. Like I turned my phone off, especially on Saturday and Sunday. I try to turn my phone off like around dinner time, from Saturday, and I'll have it trying to shut off all night, and then wake up, check my emails, whatever I need to do, and then try to not use it all Sunday. But Saturday I have a little bit of problem, so I just turn it off and put it to the side, or like plug it in. And my neighbor had texted me being like, hey, your Mandarin order's here, but I didn't see it till this morning because I had it off.
Oh, what? So what did they do? They just ate it, or did they leave it outside?
So like, I don't know whose it was or anything. That's the thing where it was like, I felt really bad because it's like, they're probably not going to believe me that I just turned my phone off, because people don't do that. You know what I mean? But Joe, how many times have I done that with you? Like where I'm like, yeah, my phone's just off.
Well, okay, so you say that as if I should be like, oh, of course, sometimes you just don't answer. But the people in my life, there are people in my life that are way worse than you could ever be, where they don't respond to me in like a month. And I'm like, where the fuck did they go? What's happening right now? And they go, oh, sorry, bro, I was just busy. And I'm like, you can't be busy for a month. That makes no sense. Like, no, like phone access. Like I see you liking things on Instagram.
Oh my goodness. See that too, like just it's a lot, right? So like I've been running my own business for now almost 2 years. And you really like Megan's mentioning, like you really have to like take that time to just shut it off, because it's really hard sometimes, and that those things do add to like depression and anxiety and things like that. And I'm sure we can all agree that we suffer a little bit somewhere here and there from those things, and sometimes it's just nice just to shut everything off and just take some time for yourself.
Yeah,
I've heard of some tips where it's like, when you're working, you put shoes on even though you're inside, and you just have like work shoes that you like put on, that way you feel like you're like working, and then when you're done you take the shoes off and you're like relaxed.
Do you ladies like have any traditions or anything that you like do to like for instance, no matter what, I get dressed every single morning, and like to make it seem like, you know what I mean, like even just running my own business, I had to make these kind of decisions and choices, because if not, you really do kind of sometimes get into a sluggish, you have to be like, I have to shower today, like you have to like put in those things. Do you ladies have any things where like, I don't know, you just like have little traditions or something that you can help yourself get into those,
that mindset that we're doing to like keep ourselves alive? Honestly, that this is something that Meg and I talk about a lot. Like not our like rituals, but well, we talk about that too, but like just how difficult it has been with us, like living and working at home in the same space. And I think one of my own struggles has been keeping those rituals consistent, because like I do find that there are certain things that when I was working that like I needed to do to get myself in the right mindset. Like maybe like if I was really feeling off or whatever, like I have to do my makeup, and that like wakes me up and makes me feel and I'm like, okay, like I can have a conversation today because like I'm like, I took some time to do my makeup and get ready, and now I'm like feeling good. Or like, for me, every single morning, like I make tea before I make coffee, and like I drink.
Oh, nice.
Like either like when I walk around the block, or like I'll sit with my book for 10 minutes and like drink my tea, and like that time with my tea is always like a personal
you time.
Not doing anything else for my job or whatever. It's solely like whatever I need to do to kind of like level set my mind that day. So that always works for me, but the other stuff changes.
Yeah, I think I'm quite similar in terms of like it's more an inconsistency. So it's something that I definitely like get up every day, get changed, all of that kind of thing. I do just live in leggings though. Like I don't dress as if I'm going to work because I'm rather comfortable.
Yeah. We have an opportunity being at home to like actually just be comfortable.
Yes.
But in terms like I always have breakfast now, which is something that I wasn't consistent with when I would go into work, because in the morning I would just be like so rushed. I don't usually, or at least previously, I'd never like to eat breakfast before 8 or 9ish. So then I would get something when I go to work. So I'd always either be buying breakfast or just skipping it. So now I'm definitely consistent with breakfast. And then the other thing that I found that really works for me in terms of getting in the mindset of work is doing a to-do list. I'm not good at doing that consistently every day, but I notice the days when I do a to-do list, I'm so much more productive.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's Darren's thing for sure. The to-do list. I've never had a to-do list. I wish I had one, but yeah.
It's like every day I'll make a list, and it's like, it's almost like, I don't, if you can relate, it's like when you get the things done on the list, it feels like you just because you wrote it down. It's weird, and it's not.
Even if you were to do it, it's like writing it down helps.
Yeah, totally. Sometimes, like when I make lists, I'll write down things that I've already done in the day, just so I have something to cross off right away.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that's so funny. I feel like I would do that.
It works. It works really well. Like I have issues like with my mind constantly like over going, where like sometimes I'll be up for hours and I just cannot stop. Like just stop. I just want it to stop. So one really good thing that my therapist says is just always to write things down. It really just helps take it and put it, especially like when you're just like have something that you kind of are worried about, or just feeling that little bit of something, just write it down. It really
absolutely
takes a weight off the shoulders.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like that's something that I've tried to dive in a little bit more to, like over the last year and stuff like that, is just like creative writing, less with the purpose of like writing creatively, but more of the purpose of just like getting thoughts down on paper to get them in your head. I feel like writing is like, especially the way that you were just describing it, writing is like the real life pensive from Harry Potter, where like pull thoughts out.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
In a pensive and like leave them. That's what writing is in real life. That actually lets you.
Great analogy. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, nice.
I love that.
Yeah, I would say the idea of a ritual or doing anything like that. The only thing I have is coffee. Otherwise, like there's not like I feel like I only work when things are inconsistent. It's insane, but it's probably just because like I'm just cuckoo on ADD puffs or something, right? Where it's like I love like different things and changes and stuff. So working in the entertainment industry is good, but I seem to be my most I was about to say progressive. What's the word? Productive. I'm always the most productive when things are crazy. So like the Christmas season, that was like there was a big change, right? Because it's like, okay, I was working and now I'm not working, and like doing Zoom calls with cousins who I haven't seen like all year, that kind of thing. And then I just, my mind was just like in the best possible place. And then now that things are finally settling down and the month of January is rolling along, I'm just like less motivated than I was before. So it's super weird, but yeah.
I feel that. I think that's something that we talk about too, like how like we're more productive. I feel that I'm more productive when I am super busy at work for that exact same reason. Like if I have all day to do one thing, I'm going to take all day to do that one thing.
Yeah,
like, push it off, and then like maybe I won't even do it that day. Maybe I'll leave it for tomorrow because it's just one thing. But if I have like 5 things to do, then I'll like stress. I've got to do all these things, blah blah blah. So like you have to like push yourself to go through it faster.
Yeah.
No?
It depends. It's a I think in anything, I think balance is a big word. When you can balance, it's really, you can take both ends of just, you may have a lot of things on the list, but if you can balance it well, it doesn't seem like it's so much. Or even if you have just a little
it's its own stress reliever,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's like something that I've learned about myself like through quarantine and this like whole time, because time has been so fucking loosey goosey. Like
I know days could mean anything. Like, oh, it's a Tuesday, it's Thursday, what the heck? Yeah.
Like time is non-existent. Like it's just like one never-ending stream of like being in my house. So like that has really fucked me up because I don't have like places to go and separate the time. And so it just all blends together.
Yeah. It's hard sometimes. Well,
that's something where I talked to Sam a lot about this because she's a napper. Do you know that about her? It's a common thing. Yeah. So one thing I think about is children get nap time, right? Or at least in preschool. It's like when you hit grade 1, it's the big leagues and you're not allowed napping anymore. But napping is clearly a natural thing, right? Babies are always napping. They have irregular sleep. And then you slowly get a more regular sleep, but still, napping is this thing where, without saying it, all of society has agreed that you need tea or coffee or some kind of caffeine or some kind of stimulant, like maybe a chocolate or something, around 3 p.m. And there's a term called the 3 p.m. crasher during a workday. And that term exists because the body naturally just wants to take a nap in the middle of the day, because we're not meant to be just always awake and then asleep and then awake. We're supposed to have intervals of this thing. But that doesn't work for business. Business is a 9 to 5 kind of pace. We need you active for the entire workday. So it's
for North American business.
Right. Well, I mean, if you want to talk about Eastern business, there's just no stop. In Japan and China, their work ethic is insane. It's like you're only allowed to pass out from exhaustion or die of a heart attack.
I know.
Their work life is really messed up. But
even more unbalanced than ours. I think you're right. I was thinking about European work-life balance, though, because
yeah. They got like 4 work days.
They've got it figured out in a way that's so much better for like balance than North America does, for sure. Like the Spanish stuff, like literally 2 p.m. everything closes. People take an afternoon nap, and then stuff opens up again at like 4 o'clock.
I didn't know that. That's so weird. That's funny. Nice. Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Like businesses actually close for like 2 hours in the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah, that's kind of awesome. That's weird, but I'm sure we'd get used to it super quick if we started doing it here.
They also eat dinner at like 9 o'clock though.
No, we wouldn't get used to it here, because here never is enough. We always want more here.
But
and that's like my frustration. No, that's the thing. If you enforce it, they go out and they start doing.
They'll find a business that disagrees with that, disobeys. Yeah.
Like for instance, like in Toronto right now, it's probably like, is it still really crazy with like riots and stuff or no? People were like rioting. Like
there was a protest yesterday. Wait, actually, whoa! I got a little story time for you guys. I totally forgot about it until right now. But yeah, yesterday Sam and I went for a drive downtown because she hadn't seen downtown in like a year. And it's like, we live in Toronto, like we should see downtown Toronto. And it's like, we're driving, so we're safer in a car. So we decided to go for a drive. And so we're just cruising, I go to Yonge Street, like from St. Clair, I go down Yonge Street to just jump right into it. And then there's a cop car blockade and they're like forcing you to go right. And we're like, what the hell? And we just see a giant flag. It was indescript. I don't know what it said, but it was probably like some kind of Trump thing. Yeah. And we take a right and we're like, what the hell's going on? Is there a protest? It's like, you think it's a good protest or bad protest? It's like, probably bad protest. And so I'm like, all right, look it up. So she's like looking it up as we're driving because we're trying to go around. And yeah, it was literally an anti-lockdown protest. Yeah. And it's so weird because of the two political spectrums, which is so silly that there has to be the two sides, because the two sides aren't equal. You have one side that's doing like the BLM protests where it's like, stop shooting innocent people. And then you have the other side, which is just an anti-science protest. Like what? Like it's so weird that those are the two sides. You have like, let's stop having the world be systemically racist and shooting innocent people. And then you have the other side, which is like, I just want to do things even if it's bad. It's like, what the fuck? Like you're like a baby. You're just a whining spoiled brat, and then it's so weird.
That's
they're just like, I feel oppressed because I have to wear a mask, and it's like, no, like that. If that's what you
yeah, let's drop you in the middle of a war zone in the Middle East. Like, then you'll feel oppressed, motherfucker.
Oh my goodness! This is the beginning of this week with like Montreal. Like all the people are like,
wait, what happened there?
Well, because Montreal, they have a curfew now, so they're not able.
Oh right, yeah.
8 p.m. to 5 a.m. and like just hearing the people on the street, it's like hilarious. Like this is just like, it's just like people are dying. What is it? What?
Yeah.
It's interesting how people.
No more. There's no more.
No, I know it's dying. So like
yeah.
that.
Well, like it's our rights and all. It's just like it's a short time. It's I don't know.
Laws were written, they could be rewritten.
I don't like videos, but, yeah.
Take those rights away. Yeah.
It's just the way it is, man. Right.
Like, but like, does it like just go inside and watch some Netflix like everybody else? Yeah. Like it's fucking fine.
If it came out that the lockdowns were useless, the masks weren't necessary, and all that shit, whatever. Obviously not true, but if it came out after it that was completely ineffective, I still wouldn't care, because the reason that I'm doing these things isn't for myself. It's not a self-serving thing. It's to protect other people. So I still feel good about wearing masks regularly and staying at home, because I'm not doing it for myself. And I think
but meanwhile, the anti-lockdown is specifically selfish.
But so many people are like, would just think, like so many, like I love thinking how people think, and like so many people are thinking that they're not the problem. That's the thing. People just think they're not the problem. And that's why they react that way. Because they're just like, well, I'm not the problem. I'm not getting people sick, so I don't need a mask. I'm not sick. It's just about I. It's never about you mentioned the other person. You're not thinking about you're mentioning the other person. They're just thinking about themselves always. And that's just basically what it's sad, but it's like it is what it is. It's people who just are selfish. They're just thinking about themselves.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where it's always sad to think about how many people throughout history, throughout their lifetimes, right? Like everybody's an individual and everybody learns life their own way and comes to some kind of conclusion. We all like to think that when we're old and on our deathbed, we left this world in a better place and we're wiser and we helped the next generation and we left like a legacy and we taught people and we learned some kind of like true human nature thing that we were able to like give to the next generation. But there seems it's just like evident that people don't learn and grow because like it's this new generation that's coming up constantly, right? It's like it's just weird when you think of like young teenagers, how they're such selfish assholes. And it's like, why does there always have to be this learning curve? And it seems like the species of humanity will never seem to get past this hurdle of being young and stupid and ignorant and selfish and having to come over that hurdle to be like, understand that you are part of a community, you're a part of a society, and like, you know,
I think that's
like you have to live for others.
I think this generation that's younger than us is actually one of the first generations to actually flip that on its head a little bit because they have all this access to technology and like they can have access to world news and they can see everything that's happening. So I feel like Gen Z has like a unique.
Yeah, they're great. I'm not gonna lie, they're
great.
They
have the first advantage.
I'm like, I'm rooting for like I'm like so I'm they're great.
Come on,
they're
Zoomers,
really,
beat the
I'm
boomers.
impressed. Like some of the videos I've been seeing, just with like even just the BLM and like kids explaining it to their parents. It's like it's mind blowing that they're young. Like it's like information is out there if you use it properly. Like
exactly, and I think their access to information and that access at such a young age has really allowed them to take themselves out of their own shoes and be more empathetic and like stuff like that. Like Meg works with Gen Z students. Yeah. Okay. But
no, but I
you're just twins. Okay, but
I totally agree, and I think that one of the things is like teenagers are expected to be selfish. Like
at this point, goddamn hooligans.
Absolutely. Like that's because your brain is still developing and like it's very much an I kind of like you are the center.
Like the hierarchy of Maslow's.
Adults, on the other hand, adults, you have experienced the world. Like you're expected to think about other people other than yourself, and we're seeing the flip side of that. When I really do believe that teenagers are so much better now that like there's always going to be pieces of shit out there, but that's just obvious.
Yeah. There are young pieces of
so
shit.
much better now than they were in like when I was a teenager, for sure. I was like so wrapped up in my own shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, me too. I was an actual hooligan. Yeah.
I was crazy. I was literally like the worst person ever.
Oh yeah.
So we're always learning.
And now these teenagers are like, no, we have to, this is the shit that we're going to have to deal with when we're adults, like climate change and like that. It must feel like they're screaming into this void because the adults who are in politics and are so self-serving that they're not thinking about what they're leaving for future generations.
It's really, really, really sad. It's really sad and at the same time really amazing because there is so much information, and if they are steered in the right direction, which it seems like they are doing quite well, it's great what the information can give them, right? And again, it's like it's a hard predicament right now because right now with this Trump situation, I think a lot of like it's really like I was looking at this this artwork that somebody had did, a younger generation, which was really, really cool because it was their perception of what basically liberals and conservatives are. So they did like one side completely red, one side completely blue, and they did it in like cool art ways of like showing the timelines of like how things change and things like this and what each side stands for. It was really well done, and I just couldn't believe that. It's very interesting how one side is very traditional and then the other side is very like let's figure out, let's help each other. You know what I mean? It's
let's move forward.
There's always two sides, right? There's always two sides, and it's really where kind of you're brought up and with the amount of information you have access to. And then you got to make that choice from there, right?
Yeah, and that's something interesting that I was kind of thinking about and conversing with Sam the other day about was how when you look at like you can look at history, but also just without history, looking at other countries that are more and less developed, you can see the difference. The less developed countries are more conservative, and they're more like religiously dogmatic and stuff. And then you look at the more advanced civilizations, and they seem to be more secular and more open-minded and progressive. And there seems to be a clear difference where it's like the more like beholden to tradition you are, and the more like things have been a certain way and they must stay a certain way, versus like, you know, things are constantly changing and you got to stay up with the times. Like it's very obvious that the side that is more beholden to tradition, you know, it's not like there is a clear right and wrong, but there's a clear way forward and not way forward. So it's interesting how a human being can exist and be an adult and like have lived all these years and have a mindset that's like, we need to keep everything the exact same as it was, and that's the only way that we should be. And it's like, are you just scared of change or being lost or dying or something? Like, what psychologically is making you think this way, aside from
I
just
think it's because
being
it's like, think of it as like almost like, for instance, like Santa Claus or like religion, like God or things like this. It's really hard when you're brought, like for instance, I was brought up Catholic, so I can say like I went to a Catholic school. I had to get my first communion, all that jazz, where you're brought up for these things. But back then, I didn't have the access to information where like I learned how to use a typewriter. I know how to use a typewriter.
Wait, like, what? You were raised with a typewriter?
I learned just clean class. Went to class and learned how to use a fucking typewriter. You have to come over a certain amount.
Yeah, it was pink. It's great.
Yes, it's amazing, right? Where we didn't have access to that information. Where like as now, someone can just type it on Google. Is God real? And then they can find so many different things, so many different videos. And then now the world's flat, and all these things where you can get so many different types of information, right? As a back then, where it's like I'm Catholic. Okay, God, Jesus, like you know what I mean? Yeah. So when you're now say like I'm 50. And like technology has changed within 10 years, and everyone's just being like, "No, what you believe in is wrong." This whole, it's like, it's hard. It's hard for those people, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just using religion as like an example. I'm not trying to like say anything. You know what I mean? It's just an example.
And business or technology.
Anything. Yeah. Business is a perfect example. As like within like for instance myself, I'm in like. I have my own business at a young age where I wouldn't be able to do that if it wasn't for social media and things like this. where somebody that of a older generation looks at me and like, how you have that car? How do you live on your own? Do you know how hard it took me? Like, it's like, that's harder for them, so they end up hating me because
rather
it seems
than
like
trying to find out how they can innovate. Yeah.
Right?
There's a really good quote, and I don't know who it's by, but it's in an age of technology, ignorance is a choice, and it's
right. Oh my gosh,
it's so true. Yeah. And it's unfortunate because I think it's a lot of it is based in fear.
Literally, yeah, it is.
And but that's in a world when we do have the amount of technology and the amount of that the world is changing, you can't just cling on to tradition and say, no, I don't want it to change, because too bad, it's happening. It's going to change everything. So find a way that change works for you. Like, you don't have to do absolutely everything, and you don't have to be the most progressive leftist person ever, but just do some research, like do a bit of reading and learn. And I think that's where the issue is folks are
that's the issue.
People are just too like, nope, I don't want to change my bubble. Yeah. I'm happy with my bubble. I'm scared of everything else. Where it's like, just do some learning. Like, you don't have to change your opinion.
But at least see where the other side's coming from. Yeah. Because that's the funny thing. When, like, I know about the other side, right? Like the conservative side. Like, there was I had worked at this one job for about 2 years, and there was a guy who was like a Trump lover, supporter, all that stuff. And like, I picked his brain as much as I could because I was just so curious. I'm like, why do you think this way? What's going on, right? And most of the stuff that he was saying was based on fear. It's like, oh, CNN always lies and you can't trust them. That's why I listen to Alex Jones. And it's like, okay, so the only reason you listen to Alex Jones is because you're scared of not getting the truth because CNN has an agenda. He doesn't think for a second that Alex Jones has an agenda, but he's just like, oh, it's the alternative must be the truth because mainstream is lies. And it's just everything. All his decisions about his beliefs are based on fear. And it's it's interesting when I think about like what Trump is trying to do and ruin the idea of what truth is and like democracy and all this insane shit. He has already lost. And about like trying to create a civil war, he lost that too. Like, that was a very pathetic attempt at what happened at the Capitol. It didn't go anywhere. They just took a bunch of selfies once they got in. They didn't know what they were doing.
I think more's gonna come.
More might come, but I don't think it's enough. I think what they want is a civil war, but there's not enough going on. There's not enough people that care enough. Most people just don't give a shit, so it's not going to happen, right? There's too many moderate people in the middle.
Isn't it great, though, that some of these people, like, I don't know if you guys have seen some of the footage of, like, some of the people, they're, like, on the list, they're on watch list, so many people have gone. They're getting taken down, and it's just like, hey, can you believe that these people literally think that they're, like, why
are you revolutionaries? Yeah, like they're like, yeah.
It's just the way people think it is what it is.
Like the audacity of some people, like to go and like fucking steal the podium and think you're not gonna get any repercussions.
And taking a picture and putting it on your social media, and you don't think you're gonna get arrested for stealing.
Logging into personal things, tweeting.
Yeah. Oh, we put it on eBay?
70 grand before like it got taken down or whatever, but like, dude, like you're trying to get caught, like you're trying to get in fucking trouble.
Yeah, there's no way he wasn't.
This is white privilege, though.
I was gonna say the right is the new Karen, you know, like that stereotype of like the privileged liberal like housewife. It's like these people are the new Karens of the world, right? The right is the new like
Karen. Oh, these poor Karen.
Like these privileged people being like, why can't I get this?
Yeah, no, like the Karen whole like meme phenomenon is a product of white privilege. Like that's what it is.
Yeah. It was once upon a time the white privilege of the liberal person, but now it's clearly these people.
Yeah, exerting their pre-perceived privilege that they have. Like they, think they have the right to everything, which is why they complain about everything and ask for the manager all the time.
It's why they could storm the Capitol
and not have repercussions,
and believe that they are well within their rights to do that as an American.
Yeah,
like it's not even like you're not breaking the fucking law, like trying to, it's insane.
It's so gross, and it's. Ugh.
It's so gross, and then it's like, their president, right? So it's like
literally told them.
Can you really like blame them? They're like following a loony chicken.
Justified with it, right?
But that was already there, though. He stroke those flames and made them think that it's okay to do that.
You just like gaslighted it, yeah.
Gave them that affirmation that yes, if that president is the one that's leading these racist tirades, like then it makes it okay, which is honestly, obviously it's a terrible thing, but it also highlights those folks who are secretly
always
yeah it really does.
It's like going out and record it, live streaming from the Capitol.
It brings it all to light. It's crazy though how like it's hard to like as being a black person, it's so many people are so racist. Like it's just like my neighborhood is like so racist, like so racist. They hate me. Like they just
not even your neighborhood, literally your next door neighbors, like everyone in your court. Yeah.
They're just, it's like since I moved like from since I like moved to this like neighborhood, I just like instantly got like questions.
Yeah.
Like people like asking me about things about my car, things like this. Like where did you like just random things where it's like this isn't anybody's business but my own.
Yeah, like why are you even asking me? What neighborhood did you move into?
I'm on the mountain in Hamilton, on the mountain.
Okay.
So, I don't know. It's just like it's like borderline Ancaster.
Yeah, but Hamilton has been like booming a lot recently over the last couple of years. Their housing market has really gone up, apparently. So
yeah. So it's just like
moving into the area.
And we're all like I'm in a nicer area. That's the thing. I'm in a nicer area, which is like fine or whatever. But it's just it's something that it's happening to me all the time. But now that it's just within these past couple of years, it's been brought into light. It's like, oh, this is like finally I can just like people can understand. You know what I mean? And like
it
goes through it in their own way. And it's just for me, it's like even just like remember Joe when I was telling you that I went to go pick up my friend.
Yeah.
And the lady wouldn't stop staring at. She literally would not stop staring at me because I'm sitting outside of my friend's house inside the car. She won't stop staring at me. So then I move my car so she can get out of her car. She comes up to my car and goes, "Who are you waiting for?"
Yeah. What are you doing here? Yeah.
My friend. Then.
So the only excuse of her not being racist is if she's like a paranoid schizophrenic or something. That's the only other excuse of her acting that way. She's either insane or a racist.
Pulls up to my car, rolls down her window again. Well, you're so like, what is the issue? Like, I can't. Like, do I have to be like? It's almost like I can't. It's hard to say
because it's like and exist.
It's hard to say because it's like if I'm a black person sitting in, say, a car that isn't like it's not the best car, they're gonna look at me and be like, he's a drug dealer. But if I'm sitting in a nicer car, they're gonna still look at me and say he's a drug dealer.
Yeah.
That's happen. So like I have a nicer car, so looking at me like he must steal or like he must. So they're coming up and I can see her looking in the window and shit. I'm just like,
oh my god.
I'm like texting my friend like, please just come out, please just come out.
Yeah.
But you know how it's like, I'll be there in 5. Yeah, I'll be out in 5, and you're just waiting, you know. And it's of course it's a nice neighborhood, right? So it's like when people see a nice car coming, they think, okay, well they must be buying something or they're dropping off drugs or something like this.
Yeah.
It's happened so many times where
it's nuts, and it's weird because that's one of those things that was invented, right? That's something they say. You're not born racist, you're taught racism or whatever, right? Like babies are just babies. They don't know anything. It's something that like you grow up in a culture or a neighborhood or a family that teaches people to discriminate.
Yeah, it's conditioning, right? Like if your mom is this woman, this Karen woman who's like, you know, going out and like suspicious of any car that's like they don't recognize in their neighborhood or whatever, then and you see that behavior growing up, you're going to think that that's okay behavior to replicate.
Yeah, that's the default.
Ladies, can I ask you a question? Like, okay, because we're gonna wrap things up, but I just want to ask you a quick question on like I had noticed this with like conditioning. I felt like when I like watch older movies, I can't believe how they're so racist and how awful they are to women. Like, okay, I was watching a Kevin Spacey movie. Like, I watched just some random movies here and there, and I just can't believe how much these men are full on just raping women. Yeah. Like a woman just comes out of the shower, boob, like fully naked, just in a 90s movie, just fully naked, comes out, he just takes what he wants, rapes her, leaves, no one says anything. Like,
well, I think Blade Runner is like the best example I can think of, where it's like it's so uncomfortable to watch the love scene that happens with what's his name? I'm forgetting now, but Han Solo. Who's that actor?
It's almost like, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like it's not even adding anything to the script or to the movie. It's like they just wanted to see
it's an excuse. Yeah, literally, yeah.
The black person has to die. There was just being like, in every movie, a black person is like stealing something, or like they're robbing a bank, or like they're like, they're just, that's what
the lone person who dies at the beginning. Yeah,
conditioned to learn these things, like that black people always have guns. They're always stealing things. So those are things that in movies, when you see a movie, what is a black person doing? They're always doing those things.
Yeah.
So like now in this day and age, you're hearing all these things with women where they're coming and saying all these directors and all these producers and all these things were like acting very inappropriate to women. But then I'm watching these 90s movies, I'm thinking, why the hell are these women just like nude and like just being raped and no one's even questioning it? But then we're in a generation now where now these same actresses that are in these movies are saying, these people are touching me and like making me do things that I didn't want to do. Would you ladies say that you've seen something like this somewhat, being female?
That's a tough one. I mean, like, things have definitely changed. I think in the way that, like, the media while we were growing up, like early 90s and into the 2000s and stuff like that, like you can still see that like strain of I don't know, women being like overtly sexualized.
That's the thing. Women are just so overly sexualized always.
Yeah, and I don't think that's something that's ever gonna change. Like,
yeah,
I mean, like, I think that the conversations with like the Me Too movement and everything have brought certain things to light, and that people are a lot more conscious of the way that they speak about women and the way that they interact with women. I think the same way that like the Black Lives Matter movement has made people turn around and think about how they react to race and how they encounter it in their daily lives. But like, yeah, I'm not sure how things will change.
I definitely have a lot of feelings on this, but I think one, I think I'm reading a book at the moment that's written by a man, and it's like I was reading, and the main character is a woman, and it's just one of those things when you can really tell when a woman is written by a man.
Oh yeah,
because it's like no.
I love that. Yeah.
No. Yeah, that's so funny.
Yep.
So many Instagram accounts and Twitter accounts that are dedicated to pulling things that are like where it's a man writes a woman, and it's like, no, I would never think this. Like, this is not how I would describe myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think another big thing around all of this is, one, we don't necessarily talk about it either. Like, if not to get like too into this, but like if there's an experience like something that causes like the Me Too movement, us as women don't even necessarily talk about it to each other either, because at least for me, it's like you just assume that everyone is treated this way. Anything's going to change until men are held accountable for their actions. Brock Turner received 3 months in like.
Wait, who was that? The university kid?
Yeah, yes. The Stanford.
Oh my God, who like was literally caught in the act of sexually assaulting someone, and they gave like, how does he not go to jail and lose his sponsorship? Because they still let him go to the school after, right?
Got released after 3 months,
and
his
ridiculous.
He shouldn't be punished for 15 minutes of action. Was what his dad said, and it's just like. It
annoys the fuck out of me so much. Sorry to swear. Sorry.
No, I've personally been harassed in a way that isn't anywhere nearly as bad as what he did to that woman, and it truly affected me to my core. Where I had it happen to me in a workplace, and I couldn't go into spaces that were group spaces at my workplace because I was so scared that he was going to be there, and I mean, I'm good. Like, I've been to therapy, I'm good, but I think that what he did to me was like, and obviously we're not comparing, but so minuscule in comparison to women who go through that shit. And then not on top of that, when a woman is raped in any way, if they choose to go to the police, one, they're never believed.
Never.
Yeah. Two, if they do get it to bring it to court, they then have to get their entire sexual history put out there. And because a woman is sexually active regularly, say she has multiple partners, somehow that means that what is okay. Mm-hmm. And then not only do they have to go through all of that, then they might the guy may not even be found guilty, or if he is found guilty, he gets 6 months and gets released in 3 months. And that's why nothing's reported. That's why it won't change.
Mm-hmm. That is a perfect example of like, we're just conditioned to like, nobody says anything. And I'm watching this, I'm like, as a kid, I would never say anything. I'm just watching, oh, this is a scary show, movie. Yeah. Parents are saying boobies, but it's like, oh, I'm actually got a little teary-eyed. It's hard because everybody goes through their own, whether it be racism, sexism, anything, you know what I mean? Where each individual really, even Joe, that's why we started the AA podcast, is because it's just to talk about things and to bring things to like recognition is just a start, right? So somebody of a younger generation will hear this, and that's all that matters. If one person here, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Which again, I think is the newer generation and the access to the internet has been able to bring these certain things to light. Because if we're saying things like things will never change, it's like, well, I mean, it already has in such a big way, even just with the Me Too movement, right? Even if that, you know, you still got people like Woody Allen not being held accountable for all the insane shit.
It's ridiculous. It's like
you at least were able to get someone like Weinstein and like, you know, Bill Cosby and like these other people who are serial offenders.
Yeah, but still with the Weinstein stuff, there's still so much more of it that they're just like, because of all this going on, they're not highlighting any of it. Nothing. It makes me so mad.
I do want to say as well, though, this is coming from us as white women. And we also have like so much privilege when it comes to this. Black trans women, like, won't even story. They're killed every day. And it's absolutely devastating, and the assault that comes with being a minority, and then on top of that being trans, it's disgusting, and it's just also something that needs to be considered as well. Like, I definitely understand the place of privilege that we come from, in that if anyone is going to be listened to in terms of sexual assault or harassment, it's going to be someone like us.
In our position, yeah. And that's like something that like you can't really take for granted in any way. Like,
well, you would hope that changes, that is something that is no longer a thing, right? Because when they say something, where it's like the little white girl fell down the well or whatever, and then everybody loves it, and if it was like a black girl, then they wouldn't give a shit, kind of a thing. That shouldn't be the standard, and that has been for so long because of how the government had been set up in the Western world, right? Because I think it is mostly North America where these are the biggest issues compared to other countries, but it shouldn't. All it takes is that no longer being normal, and I feel like having access to the internet is what it takes to get to that place where it's like everybody is an individual, and you have to stop having it be some kind of tabloid story where if they're born a certain way, then that matters more than others, right? Like, I feel like even to know that there are issues like black trans women who are being assaulted and murdered, it's like, how many other countries do you think that's happening, but it's just not covered, right? How many people are being murdered just because of how they were born? Absolutely. Yeah, like, it's insane.
Yeah, no, and I think, like, I mean...
It's awful, but it's the first step. You start with knowing it, and then you have to go from there, right? Where you can still change.
I definitely agree with that. Like, technology and, like, the globalization of the world has allowed us to, like, recognize these problems more, and that does lead to a certain level of progress, but like progress won't actually progress any further until like systemic changes.
The system.
Right?
So hopefully Canada can beat America to it. I'll at least say that much, right? Because compared to the neighbors, because it's always fun to compare the two countries. They were going in the opposite direction, where they're trying to literally break down democracy and become an authoritarian state. Yeah. And, so they're going in literally the opposite. They're like, we want our systemic racism to, like, become the new normal again. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you insane assholes?
But, like,
so, hopefully we can have the opposite, where it's like, let's systemically make it so
absolutely, yeah. But, like, States is also, like, an island, like, in the sense of, like, they're like a media island. They see themselves as an island. Like, they are,
that's true.
No matter what, like, they've been conditioned to believe that they're the best country in the world, and that everybody else thinks they're the best country in the world. They think that they're setting the tone and, like, whatever. But, like, really, the rest of the world, like, watches American news for, like, the fucking joke of a highlight that, like,
they watch it for reality TV.
But, like, other westernized countries don't act this way, or don't behave this way, or don't have the same beliefs built into them to think that they're the top of the top no matter what, right? Like,
like America was during the Industrial Revolution, so they held on to that position of being the best country in the world from the 1950s, as far as, like, as far as the economy goes. Obviously not civil rights. That took them way longer, like the 60s and 70s.
It's the way that, like, Americans are socialized. Like, it's part of their culture.
Oh, it's their culture to be the best. Yeah.
To be the best, yeah.
To believe that they're the best and that the USA is the best, and for all of these reasons. But it's just not the case.
And the thing is, when I know that you mentioned when comparing the two, Joe, but also Canada isn't guilt-free in any of this either. Indigenous.
Literally indigenous. So we at least know that it happens, or that there might be a number, but in America, there's no number for Indigenous women that are raped and murdered. They don't have a number. They're just like, fuck you. They don't even, like, look at the reports. And then so for us, we at least, I think, have reports, but we don't look into it and don't try to help. So it's like, we just know that statistically they far exceed any other class of group of people of being murdered. Yeah, and just the RCMP does nothing about it, probably because they're the ones doing it. Who knows? They are a lawless bunch. The RCMP are fucking insane people.
Definitely.
People think they're goofy because they're like, oh, they're Mounties and they wear red and they got silly hats. It's like, they're insane. They're a gang. They're an actual, like, terrorist gang. Like, when you look at the stats, statistically, they're the same as a terrorist group. Of, like, the amount of atrocities they commit under the law, and they don't get persecuted for it. The amount of people they've killed unjustly. It's insane.
The whole issue with, like, government funded law enforcement, right? Like, the Mounties are just another branch of that.
They're the specialists. They're like the Canadian CIA.
Super old Canadian history, like, they, whatever, I don't know. Shit, and their hats are stupid.
Yeah, their hats are stupid. I had neighbors that were complaining because someone who was Sikh got a job as an RCMP officer, and they're like, why does he get to wear a turban instead of have to keep a hat on? I'm like, holy fuck, It's like, I got, these neighbors that seem so nice, but I'm like, oh wait, but they're old. I gotta, like, automatically assume they're racist. But I'm like, well, because we have religious freedom in Canada, so they get to wear their turban.
And it's like, why does it have to be explained? That's the part I don't get. Where, like, where does it, like, shut off?
It makes sense. If they wear a turban, then they can't fit the mountain hat on top of it or anything.
Why would
logically, they would just wear the turban. Yeah.
Why? But an explanation. It's, like, weird.
Yeah. But hey. So for a point to end this podcast on, because did we get into some crazy stuff there? We started with technology. We end with the systemic issues that are in front of us. None of us work in politics, as far as I know, right? So the only change we can do is through protest and voting. However, and like voting with our wallets when it comes to certain other products and stuff like that. But
and speaking about it, that's
right, and platforming these issues,
bring awareness.
Talking about it. Yes.
Absolutely. Donate to anti-racism charities. Get involved in your communities. If there are food banks within your communities, donate money to them. Donate food. There's a lot.
I was going to kind of end this with: are there any plugs that you guys want to mention? Seeing as how this is not the secret podcast, you're allowed to place anything out there. Because I know specifically, like with you, Megan, and you had mentioned that you work with people who are younger. Is there any like specific foundation or organization that you know of that you would want to plug, or just in general the university and like programs that they have?
Plug. I'm not really talking about what,
But
okay, we won't talk about it. Yeah.
2 of the charities that I donate to are Parkdale Food Bank and Black Women in Motion. So
yeah. Worth checking out. Plug. Very nice. And then something I used to do back in the day is always say, "Do you have any parting words of wisdom?" as we say goodbye. But considering this is not that podcast, I'll instead just say, yeah. Do you guys have any like hope for the future, or what do you see? What's your timeline for stuff going on, or what are you most hopeful for as the preceding days and weeks and months happen?
Okay, I'll go. I mean, my hopes in general for the future is that folks start to be a little kinder and a little more thoughtful with their words and how they treat others. As Harry Styles would say, people with kindness. Also just that mental health will be treated in the same way as physical health.
Yeah. Oh my God.
People start digging into their shit. Like, own your shit. It's not a lot of fun and it's going to be tough, but like, think about the actions that you have and how they implicate with others and how you're affecting other people. And I think that the world will be a better place when people stop putting their shit on other people.
I agree.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope that this year brings an echo of all of that. I think 2020 has been a rough fucking year for the entire world, and that I really hope that people continue in this year to improve themselves and give everybody and themselves a little bit of grace, because I think people are a little bit more aware as to how different the human experience is for each individual. Yeah. So I hope that with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God. And then I'll echo that as well, because like obviously, yeah, those are all amazing things. I feel like, yeah, physical health and mental health should be treated equally, and it is kind of insane that it's taken this long, like I feel like therapy was normalized back in the 2000s, like at least in popular culture. So why is it still taking this long to get to a point where everyone else in society doesn't also see it that way? It's weird. Like the workplace and stuff like that, right? Like, how is that not treated as something that's could be part of an insurance package? I don't know.
System's got to change.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, now that we're not the youngest generation, we're the ones moving forward as we, exit our 20s, enter our 30s, and continue forward into our 40s as the time keeps on going because it never stops. We're going to be the ones in the positions, right?
Yeah.
If not us individuals, the people we know and our general peers. So it's got to, like, the best thing that we can possibly do is just keep what is normal to us in the systems that we create and mold as we become the managers and associates of whatever the heck, right? As time goes on. So, yeah.
And like continue to learn along the way. I feel like as long as you keep learning and you don't cap yourself at any point, then progress will continue.
Yeah. Well said. What can I say? I'll go off of all of you and say, essentially, with like mental health and things like that, don't be shy to reach out to friends and family. Just even if it's just a text, hi, hello, goes a long way. Even if the person doesn't have to be feeling bad. It's just put that out there, just so that people know that you're okay, and they get a little text and make someone else feel good. It goes a long way. It really does. And positivity, again, goes a long way as well.
A general thing. Smile at yourself in the mirror. All that stuff that seems silly and dumb, but it's like it works. It really works.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say is speaking about your feelings isn't a bad thing. That's a good thing to do. So don't ever be shy to reach out to a friend, family member, again, just with a text or anything, just to get those feelings out there, because there is always somebody that will listen. Even if you think there isn't, there's always somebody that will.
Amen.
Yeah.
And yeah, the fact that the lockdown is the new normal, Wait, so I brought this up at near the beginning, but like napping is natural, but we don't do it. We manually go away from it. Socializing is natural, and we've now manually moved away from it to try to help ourselves. So with that come the caveats of like we need our being alone caffeine, which is socializing with people. So whether you're doing that through Zoom or whatever, right? Like try to find a way to do that so you don't become sick or exhausted or exacerbated or cabin fevered or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really important just to reach out. Yeah.
So right, to 2021, hopefully nothing but better things as we go.
All the best. Yeah. It was a great episode, ladies. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for being here. Oh my God, honestly, like, the fact that we had scheduled this and it happened, I feel really good. So I hope you guys had a good time being with us, and and hopefully I can talk to you guys in the future, right? Like I kind of skipped out on the last meetup because I was like, I don't know, too scared to jump into that game, but maybe I'll do it later. I don't know if you guys can put that.
Yeah, we'll have to do something again soon. We'll have to do like a friends Zoom gang game thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So until then, I hope you guys nothing but the best, and
all the best.
Just hope you safe. Hope you stay safe.
Yeah. Right.
All right, take it easy. Bye. Be safe.